Okay, so let's look at a little bit about Irish culture. Okay, we'll start with literature. There are four Nobel Prize winners for literature from Ireland. There's W.B. Yeats, Bernard Shaw, Samuel Beckett, and Seamus Heaney. Okay, so these are great writers in their time. Most of them have passed away by now. And of course, the most famous one is the person on the left here is James Joyce. So James Joyce wrote many different novels. The most famous one is Ulysses, which kind of describes his somebody's journey around Dublin in one day, and is a very long and difficult book, um, which kind of changed literature forever, really, because it showed someone's life in a kind of stream of consciousness way. So it's a good way to see Dublin in a different way. There's also great modern writers too. So have a look at some of these writers if you want to read a little bit about Ireland um, from Irish writers, modern writers. If you don't like older literature, then you can have a look at some of these. Although not all of their books are about Ireland. So music, Ireland has a great culture of traditional music, so ballads and reels and jigs. So ballads are kind of slow songs and that you find in many different kind of traditional music, like in England and the United States as well. Kind of slow songs that are more focused on the voice, right? People singing. Reels and jigs then are Irish music where it's kind of a faster rhythm. Probably you're familiar with some of them. Some of the most famous Irish artists are the Dubliners, right? They sing more ballads. They sing all the famous songs, and yeah, they're really amazing. So definitely check them out. Some amazing singers, Luke Kelly and Ronnie Drew, and people who play the music as well. And some other bands are Planksty. They have a real Irish sound as well. Clonard, yeah, they have kind of this mystical Irish sound. And then I just put this other group here, Alton. So you get a feel for this reels and jigs, this fast style music that is great, right? Some instruments. We have the bowron, right, which is this drum at the back right of the photo there. It's kind of held in one hand, and then you have a little stick that you hit the kind of front part, which makes percussive noise. We also have, you can see the accordion, the violin or fiddle as it's called, banjo or mandolin, and tin whistle, which is very common in Irish music. We also have a lot of popular music artists, as you probably know, U2, Horselips, the Corrs, the Pogues. The Pogues kind of took Irish music and gave it a kind of a punk element, which then spanned another type of music that kind of influenced all these other bands from America and Australia. But for me, the Pogues are the best, and Thin Lizzy are a rock group fronted by Phil Lynott. Irish movies, okay. There's different types of Irish music movies. A lot about history. So Michael Collins tells the story of Michael Collins was the leader of one of the leaders of the Easter Rising. Black 47 is a newer one about the famine and the wind that shakes the barley. Another movie about the Irish independence and struggle. A lot of movies are about that topic, which is interesting topic to talk about. Then there's some newer movies like comedy. These are mainly written by the same guy. His name is Martin McDonagh. In Bruges, The Guard, Intermission. He usually writes for the theater, but he also writes for movies. Um, so yeah, he's a very successful screenwriter too. And here's some drama, The Commitments. Um, it's kind of a musical, but not really a musical, but it's about music. My Left Foot, In the Name of the Father, and Into the West. So you'll get a little bit more of a feeling of Irish life if you watch these famous movies in Ireland. And now we'll talk a little bit about dance. So Irish dancing is like many folk dances around Europe, probably a little bit different, but you can see the costumes here are quite interesting, usually only worn by the women, these colorful costumes, and they wear their hair like that. It's usually to the reels and jigs that we saw earlier in the music section. And we have this thing called a ceilidh. A ceilidh is basically where people come together and they dance Irish music. It's not so common anymore, unfortunately, but maybe some Irish cultural events will have a ceilidh. And of course, Riverdance brought this traditional dance to the world. Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance, right? They won the Eurovision Song Contest in the early 90s, and yeah, it took all over the world this show, and is still going today. So you can still buy tickets to the show when it comes to Dublin. And the last thing we'll talk about is Irish sport. So we actually have our own sports in Ireland, which is kind of unique, I think. The first one here is Gaelic football. You can see a picture here. So for me, it's quite like normal football. It's like soccer, but you can use your hands. So, kind of the skills needed are a little bit different. You need to be more physical and strong. And it's also quite more exciting. The scores come fast. Soccer for me is a bit boring because it takes so long to score a goal, whereas this sport is faster. And faster again is a sport called hurling. This is like hockey except in the air. So you kind of you have a stick and a little ball, similar to a tennis ball. It's called a sliotar, and yeah, it's even faster. So I think Harry Potter, the sport Quidditch, is kind of influenced by hurling. It's really fast sport, and you should definitely check it out. We have this amazing stadium in Dublin called Croke Park, and they show all the games there, or they have all the games there, all the Gaelic football and hurling games. So usually it's kind of in the summer. They also play in the winter, but yeah, it's much better to go in the summer. So June, July, August, that time of year is the best to go watch games. Rugby and soccer are also very popular sports in Ireland. The Irish rugby team does quite well. It's one of the best teams in the world, and the soccer team not so good, but they're not the worst either. But Irish soccer has quite a big following too.